Welcome to Attican Plays Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. All right, hi, this is Attican, and welcome to Series 3, Episode 6 of Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. Now, I've been doing a bunch of homework and kind of thinking about how I want to go with this, and so much so that I actually had to go back and watch episode 5 again just to remind myself where we were and where we wanted to go in terms of talking about what's going on. You'll see we've played ahead a little bit, but not a whole lot. And when we left off episode 5, we had just started this, we just set up our fabrics. And I wanted to take a moment and show you how much that's helped us. And there's two things that have helped us, so I need to talk about. The first one first is, at the end of 5, talked about setting up this farm. So I've gone ahead and done that. I've set up the farm. I also started out with 10 large fields and 1 medium field. And I ended up buying 11 tractors. I was thinking of it like this. I'm going to buy 3 tractors and I'm going to lease 8 tractors. So what I did for the 11 fields, I bought 11 tractors because there are no leases in this game. But then as each one would finish, like this medium finish first sowing, I would just click the vehicle and sell it. So basically had to pay a little depreciation on it. So for a marginal fee, I was able to get all 11 fields planted at first to get us kind of rocking and rolling. And now I've got it back down to a more normal mix of vehicles. But I also have to throw in that Damajeo has gone out and finally done what I kept wanting to do and never got around to, which is actually doing a study of the farm efficiency. And he has come up with some very interesting data about the farm. So let's, since I mentioned it, let's talk about that first. So I've added a tab to the spreadsheet, and I will put the updated spreadsheet out there for you guys if you want it. I've added a tab for farm sizing, and this is basically based on the test from Damajeo. He has determined that the optimal size for a farm, at least kind of the way they can kind of get into a nice rhythm and flow of sowing and harvesting and bringing stuff in and continually keeping your vehicles busy and producing, is 62.5 hectares. And I've got a note on here just for myself and probably some of the rest of you too. I don't usually think about size as in hectares. That's about 2.5 acres. A hectare is about 2.5 acres for those of us from the U.S. and probably some of the rest of you too. But the hectare is the size of these farms. So these big farms are like 4.8 hectares, mediums 1.37 or something like that, 1.57. The big ones are 4.81. The little ones are 0.39 hectares. So basically, he determined the perfect deal would be 13 big fields and giving you 62.5 hectares. And then your mix, this is interesting, would be 3 tractors, 5 harvesters, and 4 covered haul trucks. Most efficient of each of those that you can get. And so I built this out to help me figure it out, because you can't always just go out and plop down 13 big fields perfectly just the way you want them. So what I did was I took his data and I said, okay, after having run this for a while and seeing that here's what we saw before I made these adjustments with the 10 big and the 1 medium, was able to keep up with the demand for the fabric shop very well, not perfectly, but very well, and provide quite a bit of crops to the food. So really cutting back on the crop imports. If you remember, we were importing, 25,000, 30,000 rubles of crops, something like that. Well, here, let's go back and look at the month of October. That's, we're 1st of December, so we'll skip November because I did some building in November. But if we go back to October, I imported 1 vehicle. So other than that, this is a kind of a clean month of how we're doing. And what we're seeing now is that if we look at, for example, clothes, we exported 58,000 rubles worth of clothing in October. Now, during that time, we had, prior to setting up our fabric shop, we were importing probably for that much, we would have imported maybe $45,000 worth of fabrics. But look what we're doing now. We're not importing fabrics because we're working off this fabric shop, and our chemical imports are only about 14,000 versus that 58,000 in revenue. So our margins have grown tremendously there. So now our clothing's actually making us money. Before it was a little better than breaking even. Now it's making us some really good money. And we're going to work on making that better. But also notice our crop imports. It's under 17,000 for the whole month, and yet we exported 25,000 in food and 33,000 in alcohol. So, and plus the clothes are taking crops as well. So this farm, having that one farm working better, has really helped us. Now, after getting Damageo's data back, I expanded this farm out a little bit. So I added in another big field here, a couple of medium fields over here. So now it's 10, 11. Now it's 11 big fields and 3 medium fields. And if we go back to the spreadsheet, that's more in line with what we're looking for. So 57.6 hectares is what you get out of the big and the medium like that. Out of our goal is 62 and a half. And Damageo, if you're watching this, if you would put a comment back, I'm assuming you're saying we need a total acreage of 62.5. I would assume also the best way to do it would be 13 big fields, but if you had to do a combination, that could also get you to that number. At least it wouldn't be quite as efficient. It certainly wouldn't. I can see how the bigger fields are definitely more efficient because of the way the vehicles move. They take one trip out and do the whole thing. Like a harvester will take one trip to a field and then stay out there until it's completely finished harvesting. And a tractor will go out there and completely finish sowing. So it's much better to have the big field. But if you couldn't do it, this is your best compromise is to squeeze the other ones in there however you can. But anyway, back to where we are. So I expanded this out and I reproportioned the vehicles so that we have 3 tractors. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 harvesters, and we have 4 T138 covered, which is a better truck. I don't know why I haven't been doing this before, but if you look at the trucks or any vehicle, but trucks and buses especially, and you look at their capacities, I mean, if we just kind of take the covered haul and take, okay, the T138, if we look at it, it can haul 9.6 tons of crop at 70 kilometers per hour. So that's that's kind of an effective speed and weight of about 70. This is the one we've been running. These big ones here, they only go 62 kilometers an hour for 10, so that's 620, and this one is 70 times 10, about almost 700. So this is a better truck and costs less. So this one's a more effective truck. And just to give you another example, like if you take this little guy, if you're wondering which truck should I run, now there might be consumption differences or whatever. I don't know if it even gets into that stuff. But if you look at this one, here's one that'll go 90 miles an hour. That's great, or 90 kilometers an hour. But it only haul 1.2 tons of crop. So your effective weighted average there of crops and how fast you go is only around 90 or a little, or maybe 100 if we round it up. But here we got this T138 is 10 times 70, 700. So it's a much more effective truck, particularly if you're hauling over any distances. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what truck should I run, and later on we'll see in this playthrough, we'll talk about what bus should I run. So we've got better farms working, helping us in our economy, definitely growing. Now the next thing I did was add power. So I took some of the money that we accumulated from that better economy and put in a power plant, put some flats up here that are walking distance to this shopping center that are assigned to work in the power plant. It's going okay. And I did run it out so that we hooked it into the line going to our original Kaizena import and switched it over so that we're now exporting our electricity. and ran a line all the way over to here to Maurice, or Maurice, or however you say that, Maurice, and we're now exporting there as well. So we're exporting to two places, and plus providing our own power for our own use. So we can see here that, well, let's go back to October again. If we look at the month of October, we exported 35,000 rubles worth of power. So power is now right there with alcohol as our number 2 revenue producer. All right, so and I said it's going fairly well. We're struggling sometimes to have enough people here, which leads me to what I want to talk about in this episode is we don't have a university. Shameful, shameful. We should have a university because we are about to hit a critical point. It's December of 1963. So, yeah, that's exactly right. We're now at 4 years into our play. We started in January 1960. So we're coming up on the end of 4 years. Well, as Dennis has reported back to us, our people only live 4 years. Believe it or not, the way the simulation works, we get 4 years out of these people. And the people that we have in here who have university education, so we can see we only have 27 right now. That's one of the reasons we only have 27 is people are dying off. And as they die off, we are, what happens is as the university grads die off, it's harder to get people to work as your doctors in your hospital. Same thing with your teachers. Look at this. People are in the schoolyard. So you get in this horrible downward spiral where healthcare diminishes, and maybe even more importantly, your schooling starts to suffer. And where that kills you is that, of course, you have uneducated workforce. They don't do anything for you except consume your goods. So they cost you, but they don't contribute to society because they aren't educated enough to work in the factories or even in the shops to help support everybody else. So they're really literally sponging off your society, and it's your fault because you need to educate people. So what we're going to do, and that's how your university educations can impact your basic education, because if they don't have enough university graduated people to teach, then nobody gets taught, nobody's good enough to work in the plants, our economy goes down, and we spiral out of control. So in this episode, we're going to build a university. And the best I can do right now with the way we're piecemealing everything together is we're going to put a university right here. We're going to set up our first bus stop, our first 2 bus stops, because we're not going to be able to build out a full-blown, I do not want to build out a full-blown community out here to support the school, at least not yet. So we're going to have a bus stop here to here, a nice short run. We're going to have a kindergarten and a couple of flats. They each hold 97 people, workers, and 1 playground, just because it'll fit nicely in there. And so what's going to happen is, the idea is that this bus stop, the folks who can walk to this bus stop, that includes a couple of flats here and flats here, are going to walk over here to the bus stop and as students, and they will go over here and go to school. We may even get some workers out of it. We're anticipating getting most of our workers for the university from these 2 flats, and these 2 flats will provide some university grads to teach and some staff to staff the university, and we should be able to get a school system started here, a higher education, so that we can stop that downward spiral we're in of losing out on our college grads, and then we can start seeing this education number turn around and start going back up instead of down. So let's see what that's going to cost us. It's going to be 173. 2 times 5 is 10. 183. 190. 18. About 210. $210 to build this. Notice I did put in the road that's going to be needed. So it's going to be $210 plus then the immigration costs plus some buses. So I should have kept this running. I keep doing that. I run my mouth, but I don't run the game. All right, so we're going to get up to about 250,000 here, and then we'll start putting in our university. And we should see this this farm down here should be doing even better as we go along now. We should start seeing even better results out of it. And at some point, I'll probably go back and optimize this one now that we have some numbers to deal with. And after we get this set up, that's the main goal for this episode. But over here, I'm starting to play around with where I would like to go next. And I'm still looking for that cash cow, that thing that's going to fund our work and get us on track financially and allow us to start expanding faster and to get into construction and all that stuff. And I think this might be it, but we'll come back to that. In this episode, let's keep our focus right here and get this going. And now I don't even remember how much money I said I wanted. I think it was 300. So I'll be back. I'm just going to run this, and I'll be back when we have some money. All right, so we got 250,000. I think what we're going to do first is set up. We're going to get some people in here before we even do the university, because the first thing they're going to want to do is go off and get some food and that kind of thing. So, and I'll even do the kindergarten. It's not that expensive. So I want to set up the bus service. Where's my other bus? Here it is. All right, so we want to set up bus service so we can get these, have it ready to be ready for these people to be happy. So let's look at our buses and see which one we want to run. Here's one that does. I already know the answer. I've looked at this, but 7 times 8. This will do a relative weighting of 560, 320, 360. No way. Microbuses. No way. 300. The answer is this one. This guy right here. We're going to need 3 of these babies to keep, I believe, to keep that line going. We're going to run from here to here. We're going to copy it to that one and that one. Now we're going to bring in a few people here, and I'm going to do one expert and a couple of kind of regular imports at each. We'll make sure we get some college grads, because obviously we need people to teach here in this school. And this is going to cost $175, so we'll need to wait a little bit. We could even go with that. Okay. Without power supply. Okay, we're like one power, so it would not kill us to have one more power outlet going here. pardon me, 177. Let's wait till we have a couple of hundred. We get down to zero, it's an ugly thing. We do not want to be at zero. Notice that voltage is oscillating so much. That shouldn't be. We've got lots of power here. That transformer's fine. Our exports for the month have been pretty good. Our imports, of course, we had some building materials. Crops, we're keeping that under control. It's not a ridiculous amount. There's no fabric. Chemicals are 12,000 compared to sales of 47, so that's reasonable. Not great, but reasonable. When we get to 200, I'll go ahead and build the university. Yeah, this is good. It's 192. That's good enough. Go for it. All right, so we do not need a full-blown university at this point. So we're going to back it down to a small little thing. We're going to do chemistry as our research, but we're only going to have one professor. And there you can see we're already getting students, and we're already short on professors and staff. We already need more people than we have. But we can start addressing that as we bring people into these two flats. We can also start teaching people and then having them turn around and be teachers. So that'll be good. Let's get some more people in here. And we could have, I guess one thing I could have done, just build one of these flats until I had it kind of, you know, maybe 75, 80 people in it, then built the other one. That would have been a little bit smarter. Let's watch this person, see how we're doing. They're working in the university. So they're part of the staff of the university. They're one of these people. And let's see what happens to Fukina when it's time to look into his or her basic needs. All right, we're going into free time mode. There's always this delay. They want food, meat, and clothes. That should be an easy one. In theory, they'll walk over here to the bus stop, take a bus. Here we go. Walking to the bus, waiting on a bus. We should have pretty good frequency of buses with 3 of them running there. Fukina is on a bus and headed over here and should get off and walk over to the shopping center. There he or she goes. getting all their needs met. So that 57 should jump up when they hit 16 hours. We'll see this 57 go up to, I don't know, 65 maybe. 64, okay. All right, so, and that process will continue, so good deal. And now this person's actually going to work in the fabric factory. Okay, we need workers there too. Now we could, of course, designate these people to work in the university, but I kind of like to stay away from that. I don't mind getting more fabric workers. That helps cut down our costs. And by the way, the other thing I did, I have shut down this extra clothing factory because, well, now we're starting to get better. Oh, look at this. We're starting to get much better in terms of the workers that we have. I may have to look into doing a little export here in the warehouse of fabric. Yeah, I think we're going to have to. We're going. I didn't mean export. Import a small amount of material and fabric into this warehouse, so that if the fabric factory can't keep up the supply needed by the clothing, we won't be holding back the clothing. We want to make sure the clothing has enough fabric in it to keep working. So that means we may import some fabric, but I would rather make a small margin on clothing from the imported fabric than to waste workers who aren't getting enough out of the fabric shop. And what we'd hope to do eventually is get more and more people here, so that this is getting up into the 80 and 90 mark in terms of number of employees. And see right here, we're keeping up on the crops. When it's at 16 or more, now the truck has just left, so it's quit refilling them, and it'll get down to 12. When it gets to 12, it'll stop, because that's the import point for crops on this factory. But there for a while, we were using crops from our farm, and the next truck that comes up will be doing that again. So it's not perfect. We're not getting perfect coverage, but we are getting some. And our money's going back up. And do we have people in school? We do have people in school. We do need more teachers. And one of the things we'll hope to see, I'm just going to grab a few. We'll import some more people. We want to get away from that, though, where we're having to immigrate, especially the experts. At 562 a person, we do not want to be doing that, not for long. We'd like to not do it at all, and the school is going to really help us with that. We're making tiny little progress on our chemistry research, but right now that's not nearly so important as getting through this education crisis and making sure we have enough people with university educations. All right, so we've managed to get a school started. Now, to wrap up this episode, let's go talk about what I think I'd like to get into next. I think the next trouble I'd like to get into is over here. I've got another big farm set up, and I'm going to have to even go out and maybe do some more terraforming and some more fixing to follow Damageo's advice. But I'd love to have 13 large fields here. I've got 13 right now, with a couple of mediums and 3 smalls. These are just not nearly as efficient as these. So I would like to get 6, 12, or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'd like to try to get 13 big fields around us. So if I can't quite, I'll come as close as I can and get this going. Now, what this is going to do is support this right here. So what this is going to be, this is a livestock farm or a cattle ranch. So there's 1, 2, 3 of those. They're all connected to something I accidentally built, which is a livestock range, which can hold, it's really a stockyard, which can hold 125 livestock. And then they feed directly into a slaughterhouse. The slaughterhouse is ka-ching, ka-ching. If you can get it going, it is ka-ching, ka-ching. And let me show you what I mean. I'm going to pause this. Now let's go over here and look to see. We'll take out this university. Now let's think about this as what can we do with the meat as an industry? We know we want to create meat for our self-sufficiency, but look at meat. If you do meat and import your livestock, because you have to have 2 livestock for every 1 meat, every 2 tons of livestock for every 1 ton of meat, if you try to import livestock and run a meat industry or to create meat, you will be broke in no time. I mean, you will be absolutely broke in no time. You are leaking money at an incredible rate because the livestock is expensive to import. And you just literally can't, you are going to be actually losing a ton of money. However, look at this. If you can supply the livestock for the meat industry, you make incredible money. Your trade surplus is incredible per 30 days, per a 1 month period, like 1.175 million rubles. That's amazing. However, that's 250 livestock. And if you look at livestock, I could put them in here, but I'll just tell you, they only produce at 100% efficiency, they only produce 5 livestock. So you need 50 livestock ranches to keep a meat industry going at 100%. That is something you could do over time through creative use of trucks and or trains and the storage facilities and what have you. You could conceivably have a massive livestock business going, just have cattle farms everywhere, like 50 of them out through there, and then have all that stuff shipped over to this one meat slaughterhouse, which could handle all that volume and produce tremendous amounts of revenue, plus feed all your people meat. But that's just not realistic. It's certainly not realistic where we are in our tiny little pathetic republic right now. So what we're going to do is say, okay, but what if we could hit 10% efficiency? That's the lowest we can cut our workers down. We would only need 5 workers in the slaughterhouse. And we would only need 25 livestock. Well, that's only 5 cattle ranches. That's not so bad. So if we could do 5 cattle ranches hooked up efficiently to one slaughterhouse, we could make over 100,000 rubles per month of trade surplus, plus provide meat for our people. And so that's going to be our target. Our first target is trying to hit just 10% efficiency on that slaughterhouse with 5 workers and try to make something on the order, and we won't hit it perfectly, but something on the order of 80 to 110,000 rubles per month in trade surplus on our meat. And the key thing is the livestock need crops. So, of course, that's what this is for, to feed the livestock. And then the slaughterhouse needs livestock. We will set import on the livestock, on the cattle ranches to make sure they're steadily producing, but we absolutely will not import livestock into the slaughterhouse. We will just simply take whatever we're able to get from these, slaughter that up, and eventually the plan is to have a train that exports to Puerto Maurice, and then we'll set up I'm thinking we'll probably set up a truck line. We could run train, but I don't think we'll have that much volume. We're going to run a line of trucks that go get some crops, feed them in here, go to the slaughterhouse, grab some meat, take it over here to however we decide to distribute it. Either probably we will put a meat warehouse somewhere in this area, and we'll drop off meat from our slaughterhouse here and have trucks that deliver it to our grocery stores. And then we'll have the trucks that come all the way over here. We'll go, like one will go to the distillery and grab some alcohol and take it back to our new town that we're going to have to build over there to the, let's call it the west. And another truck will go grab some food and take it back to the grocery or shopping center or whatever we end up building over here to support our new business. So that's where I want to go next in terms of getting us going. And I really think if we can get to the point where we have a really strong meat industry, we've checked something else off. We've got meat coming back here and feeding these people. And so we're down to electronics as the only thing left for us. And we've got, we should have strong exports here, but it's going to take a lot of money to get to the point where we can really do this. In fact, we're probably going to have to phase it in and maybe even just deliver some truckloads of livestock to start with as exports. And then once we can afford to get the meat industry going, get it going and start exporting meat by truck to start with, and eventually get enough money till we can have a full-blown train system and have a train making that delivery. So that's the plan for what we're going to try to do next to try to continue to improve our economy. And we're going to try to keep this thing going as well and keep people trained, and hopefully see this loop improve over time to the point where as we get more college graduates, of course, we'll have more people who can just naturally be professors and teach, and we'll get in an upward spiral in our education. Make sure we have plenty of people here, and plenty of people at our hospital. And of course, we're going to need another hospital over here and another fire station. So this is going to be a full-blown village to a town, I guess we could call it. We're going to have a full-blown town here in Hontsazino to support this. Basically, this right here, the star of the show over there, the slaughterhouse. So for our meat creation, we're going to need a whole. It takes a village to create meat. All right, so that's enough for this one. We've set up our education. We've kind of reviewed the power. The power is going to need to be upped, and also we want to get rid of the coal imports. I didn't really talk about that, but we're also, obviously, if we're going to export power at, let's do last month, we're going to export 30,000 of rubles of power and provide power for ourselves. We're right now paying the price by 13,000 rubles worth of coal that we're importing. We want to get rid of that, and that's easy enough to, nothing's easy enough to do when you don't have money, and we don't have money. But we will eventually be able to set up our coal and our power production and build more power plants, and also have the ability to run some coal over here and offset those import costs for the coal. All right, so, and I did want to end on this. Thank you all for all the tremendous comments you've been leaving. And also, on a personal note, thank you for all the kind of words of encouragement. Those of you who've said you've learned a lot from these series. I really appreciate that feedback. It keeps me going. And I also just want to kind of apologize. I'm used to having these games totally kind of down, and not 100%. Nobody's 100%, but if you want to know something about Railway Empire, ask me. I'll tell you. But this game I'm not there yet. I got a lot to learn, and there's a whole lot of mistakes I've made even in this playthrough. I'm thinking, contrasting this back to the first series. The first series we kind of nailed it, with the exception of the cinema, which we didn't put in our original neighborhoods, which ended up hurting us. But that one was the easiest of all, and that was the first one. So anyway, I'm enjoying this one because I'm enjoying the challenge of trying to deal with this crappy economy we have and still get stuff done. And of course, I'm enjoying all the things I'm learning from all of you. So keep those comments coming in, and appreciate it. And we'll talk to you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Workers and Resources Soviet Republic video. Thank you.